Chapter 2344, Swollen Face 1. Yi Qing's reputation in the Netherworld Academy would be ruined. Like this, his students would also be implicated in the rumors and be dragged through the mud. The only way to deal with this was with genuine power. This was the only way to quash those rumors. Yunqin could more or less guess that was what Yi Qing was thinking. It was just that he was not sure whether Yi Qing was really that confident. Xiaonan looked rather conflicted. In the end, they had just got to know Yi Qing yesterday and were not that close to him. But they all respected his courage and willingness to stand up for himself. Perhaps Lei Yan and the others didn't realize this themselves, but they had completely changed. It was not just their powers, but also their hearts. Previously, they had already given up on themselves in despair. Thanks to Yi Qing's existence in their lives, they had stepped onto the road to becoming stronger. Both their powers and their aspirations had undergone earth-shattering changes. A phrase popped into Xiaonan's mind. Troops took after their general. Perhaps it was this kind of feeling. Yi Qing was not just their teacher, he was their spiritual leader. Xiaonan couldn't help feeling somewhat envious. He had his own teacher, but they didn't have this type of deep bond. If he encountered trouble, would his teacher fight for him? And if his own teacher was in trouble, would he also be as brave as Lei Yan and the rest, willing to sacrifice everything to help him? What kind of shared experience forged this kind of bond? On the platform, Yi Qingtang looked as calm as always. Meanwhile, Di Nua had a grin as deep as it was malevolent. Meanwhile, Yi Qingtang looked at Di Nua steadily. She knew he disliked her. This was the kind of scorn an arrogant practitioner had for a weaker one. Perhaps she had already aroused Di Nua's dislike the moment she became a teacher in the Netherworld Academy. But so what? Having been reborn, there was no way Yi Qingtang would bother about the baseless opinions of others. She was doing this now just so Lei Yan and the others wouldn't have their own names dragged through the mud. There was no way she could leave them with a tarnished reputation of having had a morally corrupt teacher, right? And they had been so protective of this morally corrupt boss. Like this, Yi Qingtang would gladly enter into battle for the sake of her brats. Di Nua gazed at Yi Qing. Right from the start, he felt that Yi Qing was just asking for it. A Paragon 6th heaven-level practitioner dared to stand on the same platform as him? Yi Qing, I will give you one last chance. If you admit your wrongdoings now, I will spare you the physical pain. Di Nua smiled. Yi Qingtang completely ignored his words. Di Nua's face darkened. Well then, you will only have yourself to blame for what happens today. Anything can happen in a fight. Don't blame me if there are any accidents. The threat in Di Nua's voice was clear. Di Nua, if you dare to hurt my boss, I will kill you even if I have to go down into hell with you. Lei Yan hollered. They respected Yi Qing's decision, but this didn't mean they would forgive those who hurt him. As Di Nua glanced at Lei Yan and the others, the amusement in his eyes deepened. Yi Qing, I do admire you for this. You managed to make these teenagers trust you so completely. What kind of potion did you give them? Why are they so loyal to you? Chapter 2345, Swollen Face 2. Di Nua was not anxious to make his move. After all, with Yi Qing's powers, he could kill him in one move. You really like to talk a lot. Yi Qingtang stared impassively at Di Nua. Di Nua's face stiffened. Make your move and stop wasting time. I still have to compete with Zhu Ning after this match ends. If anything, Yi Qing's words enraged Di Nua. The surrounding students widened their eyes. This Yi Qing is so bold. Or is he just a fool? Does he really think that after this match Di Nua, he will still be able to walk off this platform? Seeing that Yi Qing was so eager to die, Di Nua narrowed his eyes and unleashed his powerful Divine Lord stage aura. So powerful. The crowd couldn't resist gasping. Qin Feng's expression darkened. Ran Mo was also a Divine Lord second heaven level, but he was only at the early stage, and Di Nua was at the peak. With Di Nua's powers, even if they all joined forces to fight him, they would still not be a match for Di Nua. Qin Feng quietly clenched his fists as he paid close attention to everything that happened on the platform. He was prepared to dash up at the crucial moment to rescue Yi Qing. The same idea had simultaneously appeared in the minds of Jing Zhe and the others. They didn't care about the academy rules and didn't care about who they offended. They were already prepared to charge up the platform the moment Yi Qing was in danger and then flee with him from the Netherworld Academy. Yi Qingtang stared coldly at Di Nua, whose aura was surging wildly. Still she remained unmoving. Di Nua was unsurprised at Yi Qing's lack of reaction. Suppressed by a Divine Lord-level aura, it was only natural that a Paragon 6th Heaven-level practitioner could not move. In the next second, Di Nua morphed into a golden light, and he charged toward Yi Qing. Qin Feng and the rest were extremely tense. Just as Di Nua was approaching Yi Qing, he suddenly lifted his eyes and parted his lips. Then he uttered a single word: retreat. The word was spoken lightly, but the moment the word left his lips, Di Nua felt a buzzing numbness spread across his mind. In the next instant, it was like he had been sent flying across the air by an invisible force. Crash. Di Nua landed heavily on the platform. Meanwhile, Yi Qing remained standing there, completely unharmed. Apart from his lips, he had not moved a single inch of his body. What happened? Everyone was stupefied by what they had just witnessed. Di Nua had made his move. Shouldn't Yi Qing have been killed within seconds? Why was Di Nua the one who was sent flying instead? Qin Feng and the others were also dumbstruck. They were all prepared to rush up and had already taken one step forward before they all halted in their tracks. What happened? How did Di Nua end up flying through the air? Collapsed on the ground, Di Nua felt like he was being completely covered by an invisible force. Shock flashed across his eyes. He had no idea what happened. Get up! Yi Qing's voice rang out again. Following that calm voice, Di Nua was suddenly lifted into the air by that invisible force. It was spine-chillingly strange. Damn, could there be a ghost? Someone exclaimed. Just as the crowd was feeling very befuddled, Yi Qing crossed his hands behind his back and strolled over to where Di Nua was being suspended midair. Chapter 2346. Swollen Face 3. It was like there were invisible steps below his feet. Yi Qing seemed to ascend, stepping on empty air until she gradually came face to face with Di Nua. Yi Qing, what kind of trickery are you using? Di Nua was panicking. His body was not obeying him at all. He wanted to move, but somehow he just couldn't. Yi Qing looked mildly at Di Nua. Haven't you always wished to know why Lei Yan and the others are so loyal to me? The youth spoke casually. Di Nua was taken aback. Yi Qing suddenly snapped her fingers. In the next second, a tremendously powerful force surged out from his body. The faint moonlight shone upon him, as if he was being engulfed in a glowing lair. Di Nua was instantly stunned by that elite aura. He widened his eyes in disbelief. They were nearly popping out of their sockets. What kind of terrifying power was this? He could hardly breathe. Divine Lord. 5th Heaven level. Di Nua's heart nearly leaped out of his eyes. Even in his dreams, he would never suspect that this useless Paragon 6th Heaven level piece of trash was actually a Divine Lord 5th Heaven level practitioner. Divine Lord 5th Heaven level, faced with this kind of cultivation level, Di Nua was like a piece of garbage. Completely defenseless. And he was not the only one. Everyone at present was dazed when Yi Qing displayed his powers. Completely, utterly dazed. Divine Lord. 5th Heaven level? One of the students said in a trembling voice. He was trembling partially from the shock of the discovery, but mostly because of the aura unleashed by Yi Qing. It was beyond terrifying. Who told me Teacher Yi is just a Paragon 6th Heaven level? Let me beat him up. No wonder he could bring Qin Feng and the others to the Divine Lord stage within such a short period of time. So he is actually so powerful. No one expected Yi Qing to be hiding such a big secret. To think that he was a Divine Lord 5th Heaven level. Why didn't he just say so earlier? Han Wenwei was utterly dumbstruck. He pinched Gong Jinyun on the thigh. He pinched so hard that Gong Jinyun cried out in pain. What are you doing? Han Wenwei asked. Does it hurt? Of course. Han Wenwei sighed. So, This is not a dream. Gong Jinyun. Was it a serious crime to kill one's schoolmate? Yun Chen was also somewhat bewildered. Meanwhile, Lei Yan had snapped out of his trance and punched Yun Chen on the shoulder. Damn, and I wondered why you dared to let boss go on that platform. So you already knew. Brother, how can you keep such a secret from us? We were nearly dying from anxiety. If I knew boss was so formidable, I would have urged him to go beat up Di Noa and not wasted any time. Lei Yan wiped cold sweat off his brow. He had nearly died from fright. Yun Chen, he hadn't known. He really hadn't known. He had previously suspected Yi Qing was some secret powerful practitioner, but even he had never expected for him to be a Divine Lord 5th Heaven level. He had theorized that Yi Qing was probably some highly skilled alchemist and knew some good martial arts moves. And so, he believed that he might be able to hold his own against Di Noa. But he had really underestimated his boss. Suspended in midair, Di Noa was shivering in fright. So much so that he felt his body was about to shatter. With widened eyes, he looked at Yi Qing as if she was a monster. Chapter 2347. Next, at this moment, Di Noa felt like he was just one big joke. He had always believed that Yi Qing was the disgrace of the Netherworld Academy. Now, all his past actions had come back to slap him in the face. A Divine Lord 5th Heaven level practitioner was useless? Then what was he? Humiliation engulfed his heart as he stared anxiously at Yi Qing. His eyes no longer held his usual imperious arrogance. In front of Yi Qingtang, Di Noa was completely defenseless. The suppression of Yi Qing's high cultivation level turned him into a lamb ready for slaughter. But Yi Qingtang was not interested in wasting any more time with Di Noa. She lifted her hand and gave a gentle flick of her fingers. In the next second, Di Noa dropped down from midair. His body crashed down onto the platform, creating a massive crater. Silence descended the entire arena. Everyone was stunned by this one-sided match. Below the stage, those teachers who were watching the match were also dazed. Zhu Ning had widened his eyes in shock. Due to yesterday's incident and Di Noa's declaration, all the teachers at present knew that Yi Qing was only a Paragon 6th Heaven level. They thought that Yi Qing was just putting up a useless final struggle when he challenged Di Noa. But now, Yi Qing had not even executed any technique. Just a flick of his finger had Di Noa completely suppressed. The difference in power was terrifying. Divine Lord 5th Heaven level, what's wrong with Di Noa? Why did he claim that Yi Qing was only at the Paragon 6th Heaven level? One of the teachers asked in a daze. No wonder Yi Qing did not appear fearful of Di Noa at all, and even dared to challenge him head-on. No wonder. Di Noa probably never expected to face such a powerful practitioner. Apart from being shocked, many teachers also sighed at Di Noa's mistake. Yi Qing's powers far surpassed Di Noa's. If he wanted to conceal his cultivation level, there was no way Di Noa would know. This kind of person is a disgrace to the Netherworld Academy? The president would be elated if he knew this. Quite a number of teachers were quietly shaking their heads. How was Yi Qing a useless piece of trash? It was apparent that he was a powerful practitioner who preferred to keep a low profile. The other teachers instinctively turned to look at Zhu Ning. Zhu Ning had a rather strange expression. No one could decipher how he must be feeling now. So it was false that Yi Qing was only a Paragon 6th Heaven level. It turned out he was a true blue Divine Lord 5th Heaven level. And he was still so young. With his current abilities, it was not that unbelievable that he could produce a few Divine Lord level students. So what about alchemy? No one had forgotten that Yi Qing had also challenged Zhu Ning. Di Noa had already been carried out of the crater. He was now unconscious and covered in blood and looked like a corpse. Did that mean Zhu Ning would have to face Yi Qing now? Yi Qing, he is a martial arts genius. But he can't possibly also be better than Zhu Ning at alchemy, right? One of the teachers mused. Everyone also believed that was the case, but after witnessing Yi Qing's power display, they could not help feeling rather faint. Yi Qing strolled off the platform. The surrounding students were already dumbstruck and countless eyes were now focused on Yi Qing. Chapter 2348. Next 2. Boss. You're so formidable. Lei Yan was the first to recover from the shock. Leaping ecstatically into the air, he nearly jumped onto the platform to raise his boss onto his shoulders. What was the definition of awesome? Their boss was the definition of awesome. De Noa was only at what cultivation level, and he was already strutting around all day, thinking so highly of himself. Look at their boss. So low profile and humble. This was how a truly powerful practitioner should behave. By this stage, Qin Feng and the others had also recovered from their shock. They gazed at Yi Qing with sparkling eyes. An undisguised look of admiration and worship filled the eyes of Nangong Lai and the others. I am feeling rather faint now. I say, brother. This is truly a massive stroke of luck for us. Hang Wenwei still looked a little shaken. He placed one hand on Gong Jinyan's shoulder. This was just too exciting. He never expected that he had actually stumbled upon a Divine Lord 5th Heaven level teacher. Damn. He would have to give offerings at the temple tomorrow to show his gratitude. Gong Jinyan and Xiao Nan were still in shock. But Hang Wenwei's words echoed their own thoughts. This was really a major stroke of luck for them. Compared to the joy of those brats, the other medicine faculty students looked rather conflicted. They had been very stunned but managed to recompose themselves, only to realize that Yi Qing's students had been even more astonished. Still pretending. How could they possibly not know the standard of their own teacher? Yi Qingtang didn't waste any time. She shot Lei Yan and the others a look to calm down, before turning to Zhu Ning. Next. Yi Qing did not ask to rest before continuing the next challenge. The crowd was electrified. Nevertheless, there was quite a number who felt that as powerful as Yi Qing was, could he really also be that good at alchemy? But wasn't he only a few years older than them? I don't believe that Yi Qing's alchemy skills can surpass Teacher Zhu's. If he can win, I will eat this whole platform. One of the medicine faculty students was very sure. The match between De Noa and Yi Qing had been between two martial arts teachers. The medicine faculty students only watched it for entertainment purposes. But Zhu Ning was the backbone of their medicine faculty. They didn't believe Yi Qing would defeat Zhu Ning. Meanwhile, Lei Yan and the others were much calmer. They stared at the medicine faculty student who claimed that he would eat the whole platform with a "you are just asking for it" look. Elixir refining skills? Their boss feared no one in this aspect. As everyone watched, Zhu Ning walked over. He looked at Yi Qing with a complicated expression. How do you wish to compete? Zhu Ning asked. He acknowledged that Yi Qing was indeed powerful, but now they were competing in elixir refinement which had nothing to do with cultivation level. Even if he was facing an emperor-level practitioner, Zhu Ning would not lose in the field of alchemy. Yi Qing simply replied, "You can choose."
Damn.
So pompous. Yi Qing's words incited the medicine faculty students. Arrogant. Too arrogant. Zhu Ning didn't expect Yi Qing to be so audacious, and he gave a slight frown before continuing. In that case, shall we compete on the green asteroid elixir? All the medicine faculty students gasped. Lei Yan and the others had not heard of this elixir before. Unabashed, they asked, Yun Chen, what is this green asteroid elixir? Is it very formidable? Yun Chen replied, it's a master-level elixir. Lei Yan, well, excuse me. This was an elixir which he could never afford. Chapter 2349. Next 3. This kind of master-level elixir was very rare. In the first place, there were few master-level alchemists in the entire second domain. On top of that, they were all under the various factions, and their elixirs never entered the public market. Since Zhu Ning had chosen a master-level elixir, it was clear he was serious. I say, isn't Teacher Zhu a bit too merciless? He wants to compete on a master-level elixir? Gong Jinyan frowned slightly. He felt that this was not fair to Yi Qing. Meanwhile, the medicine faculty students retorted. This competition is about refining elixirs, right? What? You want our Teacher Zhu to go easy? Compete on an elementary level elixir? What a joke. Don't make bold claims if you don't have the ability to back it up. Don't think that just because your cultivation level is high that you can refine elixirs. Those are two entirely separate matters. Just as the crowd continued their discussion, Enchanting agreed to the terms. All the ingredients were delivered by the other medicine faculty teachers, and each person received a set. There was only one chance to refine. The first sign of failure would mean defeat. Those in the medicine faculty could not hide their anticipation. It was not often they got to see Zhu Ning refine elixirs. They couldn't even be bothered to look at Yi Qing. Instead, they all focused on Zhu Ning. Zhu Ning's knowledge of herbs far surpassed that of Song Yanhan. His preparation of the ingredients was so precise that all the students sighed in admiration at the sight. It was a pleasure to watch. Lei Yan didn't know anything about elixir refinement, so he had to ask Yunchen. Tell me, who is more highly skilled? Our boss or Zhu Ning? Yunchen replied without any hesitation. Our boss, of course. That's right. Lei Yan chuckled. He loved hearing others praise his boss. Their conversation attracted the attention of several other medicine faculty students. They stared at those two like they were looking at two fools. Yi Qing was better than Zhu Ning? Dream on. At this moment, even the other medicine faculty teachers were all carefully observing Zhu Ning's elixir refinement process. They could not detect any flaw in his movements. Everything was perfect, even the teachers were benefiting a lot from watching. Every time I watch Teacher Zhu refine elixirs, I get a sense of desolation. I wonder when I will ever reach his standard, one of the teachers lamented. I am afraid that both you and I will never reach his standard in this lifetime. Look. Just as the teachers were admiring Zhu Ning, they suddenly saw a flame light up in Yi Qing's hand. It was the same as Yun Chen's earlier display, but Yi Qing's flame was black. What? The teachers were all shocked. They never expected Yi Qing to know the palm flame technique as well. Could it be that he was really the one who taught Yun Chen the technique? Yi Qing was focused on the herbs in her hands and looked like he was completely immersed in her own world. Zhu Ning, who had just placed his ingredients into his tripod, also noticed what Yi Qing was doing. He was stunned by the sight. As that black flame refined those herbs, a medicinal aroma wafted over in waves. Shock flashed across Zhu Ning's eyes. He knew that he should be focusing on his own elixir refinement, but after watching Yi Qing's process, he appeared unable to carry on. Chapter 2350. Intoxicated 1. Layman watched for entertainment, while the experts watched for the skill. With Zhu Ning's skill level, it was natural for him to better understand what he was seeing. And because of that, Zhu Ning's heart gave a heavy jolt when he saw Yi Qing place his prepped ingredients into the flame in his palm. Those ingredients had been prepped as well as his, perhaps with even more precision. Zhu Ning's face instantly paled. He had not believed that Yi Qing knew how to refine elixirs too. But now that he was seeing the process with his own eyes, he finally realized how laughable his earlier thinking had been. Just by the youth's movements, Zhu Ning could confirm that Yi Qing knew very well how to refine the green asteroid elixir. In fact, he might be even more familiar with it than him. The green asteroid elixir was a master-level elixir. Without a certain level of skill, one would not be able to refine it even if one knew the recipe. But Zhu Ning watched as Yi Qing placed the final ingredient into his palm. He suddenly closed his eyes and took a deep breath. In the next second, Zhu Ning extinguished the fire on his own tripod. The crowd was stunned when they saw Zhu Ning extinguish the fire in his tripod. What's the matter with Teacher Zhu? Why is he stopping? What is going on? Everyone was dumbfounded. Things had been going on very well. Why did Zhu Ning suddenly stop? Teacher Zhu? What's the matter? The other medicine faculty teachers were also confused. They thought something must have happened to Zhu Ning, and they all went up to him. Zhu Ning waved them off but didn't say anything and only continued to watch Yi Qing, who was focused on refining his elixir. The arrogance in his eyes had faded away as he concentrated on watching him. How long had it been since he was like this, completely engrossed in watching the process of someone else refine elixirs? He could no longer remember. At this moment, he appeared absorbed, not at all like the master-level alchemist he was. He was more like a medicine faculty student, watching Yi Qing's movements intently as if he was very worried about missing any single detail. Even when those teachers tried to continue their queries, Zhu Ning interrupted them to stop them from bothering him. The medicine faculty students were dazed. They did not understand why Zhu Ning was behaving in this manner. Previously, they did not pay much attention to what Yi Qing was doing. But now that Zhu Ning was watching so closely, they instinctively turned to look. And with that one look, they were completely shocked. The situation on the platform had become very strange. Zhu Ning had extinguished his tripod fire and was watching Yi Qing intently. And the eyes of those medicine faculty teachers were now glowing as they also watched Yi Qing. All the other students were befuddled. What was going on? Wasn't there a competition going on? Why had all the teachers gone into a trance? Damn, they're secretly spying on our boss technique. Lei Yan muttered. He could not understand what boss was doing. But observing the faces of those old men, it was clear they were secretly studying his boss techniques. Lei Yan wanted to object, but Yun Chen put his hand over his mouth. Don't say a word. Yun Chen's eyes never left Yi Qing. Now, he did not wish to hear any noise either. All he wanted was to memorize every single one of Yi Qing's movements. Lei Yan. If Yun Chen didn't let go, he would soon suffocate to death. A strange atmosphere descended over the medicine faculty arena. By the time Ran and Mo hurried over with Wu Fengling, they were greeted by this strange sight. Chapter 2351. Intoxicated, too, Ran and Mo had been very anxious. He was worried about Yi Qing and had hurried over to find Wu Fengling as a reinforcement. But when he returned, the bloodbath he had been expecting had not occurred. What they saw was Yi Qing standing on the platform refining an elixir. Meanwhile, Zhu Ning and the other medicine faculty teachers were watching him with intoxicated expressions. Rand M.O. Wasn't there supposed to be a challenge going on? Could he have been hallucinating? Is this what you mean by life-threatening? Wu Fengling raised an eyebrow at his disciple. Ran M.O. He was worried Wu Fengling wouldn't come with him, so he claimed that Yi Qing's life would be in danger if he didn't come. But now, who could tell him what was happening? Wu Fengling glanced at the despondent expression of his disciple before walking over to the platform. The students respectfully gave way when they saw Wu Fengling approaching. Meanwhile, the teachers on the platform appeared oblivious to Wu Fengling's arrival. Their eyes never left Yi Qing. Elder Zhu, you guys are... Wu Fengling tried to ask what was happening. But before he could complete his sentence, Zhu Ning shot him a cold, angry look. Wu Fengling. All right, he would have to ask later. Wu Fengling had come to prevent some major catastrophe, but he ended up watching Yi Qing refine elixirs together with a bunch of teachers. He was amused but also rather mystified. It seemed that Yi Qing also knew how to refine elixirs. Furthermore, Wu Fengling was rather amazed at the sight of Zhu Ning's focused expression. Zhu Ning had told him before that apart from his Grand Master disciple, he could not bear to watch anyone else refine elixirs. But now, Zhu Ning was watching very intently. When Wu Fengling tried to speak, it was like he had committed a heinous crime. If anything, Wu Fengling felt that the situation was rather incredulous. Time passed by the second that stretched into lengthy minutes. By the time Yi Qingtang finally extinguished the flame in her palm, a pale green elixir was left behind in her hand. At the same time, countless sighs could be heard. Yi Qingtang instinctively turned to see. Zhu Ning and the rest of the medicine faculty teachers had somehow come over to her side. Those folks looked as if they were hankering for more. Yi Qingtang was stunned. Teacher Zhu? Yi Qingtang asked. Weren't they competing? Why did her opponent suddenly come over to her side? Zhu Ning shook his head with a sigh. He closed his eyes, as if re-immersing himself in what he just witnessed. That lingering feeling. It was not enough. How many years had it been since? He was finally experiencing that feeling again. It was like when he just started learning alchemy and was watching famous alchemists refining elixirs. I have lost. Zhu Ning opened his eyes, but there were no signs of anger. He looked at Yi Qing with a humbled expression. In front of everyone, he suddenly gave Yi Qing a deep bow. I've been obsessed with alchemy for many years, so much so that I appeared to have lost the stability of my mind. I seemed to have forgotten that there would always be someone better in this world. Everyone was dumbstruck by Zhu Ning's bow. The medicine faculty students were in a complete daze. Zhu Ning lost? Lost without even putting up a fight? Impossible. Yi Qingtang saw that Zhu Ning had already extinguished the fire in his tripod. Teacher Zhu, you didn't finish refining your elixir? Zhu Ning replied in an embarrassed tone, that's right. When I saw the way you refined, I knew that I had already lost. There's no point in me continuing the process. Chapter 2352, Intoxicated 3. At this stage, Zhu Ning was full of shame and regret. All these years he had been obsessed with alchemy and researched it all his life, giving it his everything. That was why he detested people who didn't take elixir refinement seriously. Previously, Yi Qing's bold claims made Zhu Ning believe that he was just an ignorant layman, and this unfounded dislike of the youth only continued to rise. But now, Zhu Ning realized that Yi Qing's elixir refinement standard far surpassed his own. How could he have been so blind and foolish? He had completely humiliated himself because of his narrow-mindedness. Zhu Ning hated those who didn't take elixir refinement seriously, but was extremely respectful toward those with exceptional skill. So now, his tone toward Yi Qing had subconsciously become more respectful. I have lost. But it is my honor to have witnessed Teacher Yi's exquisite elixir refinement skills. Teacher Yi, don't worry, I will adhere to the terms of our bet. From now on, I will seal off my tripod and never refine elixirs again. Zhu Ning stated. A huge commotion erupted at Zhu Ning's words. Song Yanhan's face paled. He never imagined that his master would lose. And to Yi Qing as well. If Zhu Ning sealed off his tripod, what would happen to him? Master, please reconsider. Song Yanhan hurriedly cried out. Zhu Ning waved him off. I have committed wrong after wrong. But today, I managed to witness a true expert at work. It is already a blessing for me. He had doubted Yi Qing and wanted to know who taught Yunchen the palm flame. Now, Zhu Ning knew that it was indeed Yi Qing who imparted that skill to Yunchen, and his initial doubts made him feel extremely ashamed. Yi Qingtang looked at Zhu Ning. She felt that he was too old-fashioned. Nevertheless, she also felt that this elder did have some backbone. It is truly admirable that Teacher Zhu is keeping his word, Yi Qingtang said. But Teacher Zhu's teaching stint at the Netherworld Academy is an agreement between him and President Wu Fengling. Since the agreement between Teacher Zhu and the president has yet to end, we must uphold that agreement first, Yi Qingtang continued. Zhu Ning was taken aback by Yi Qing's words. Recalling how he had been so overbearing toward her and how gracious the latter was being now, he felt even more ashamed. Teacher Yi, I was in the wrong, so of course, Zhu Ning couldn't bear to give up elixir refinement, but he was unwilling to go back on his word. Before Zhu Ning could complete his sentence, Wu Fengling walked up the platform. Elder Zhu, Teacher Yi is right. You lost to me that year, and said that as long as I am in the Netherworld Academy, you will be a teacher at the medicine faculty. What? Are you trying to go back on your word now? Wu Fengling smiled. Zhu Ning felt a headache coming on. President. Yi Qingtang saw Wu Fengling and Ran Immerse standing behind him, and she immediately knew why he had come. Wu Fengling nodded. Yi Qing, I didn't expect you to be skillful in elixir refinement as well. You are truly full of surprises. But you have really raised a ruckus today. I heard that you challenged Zhu Ning and Dinua? Yi Qing nodded. Wu Fengling gave a small smile. He had already heard about the entire affair from Ran Immerse. I will handle this matter. Since this match is done, let's forget about your challenge to Dinua. Yi Qing gave a strange look at Wu Fengling's words. I am afraid that's not possible. Wu Fengling was startled. This punk. Didn't he realize he was trying to help him? He would be in trouble if he really had to fight Dinua. Why? Wu Fengling asked sternly. Now Yi Qing looked exasperated. Because the match between Dinua and I has already ended. Chapter 2353. Competition ended. Your match with Di Nua is over? But Wu Fengling was astonished. He looked at the completely unharmed Yi Qing. Could Di Nua have had a change of heart? He had gone easy on him? Rand Mo blinked in confusion. Meanwhile, Hang Wenwei, Gong Jinyun, and Xiao Nan dragged him off to the side. What happened? The match between Teacher Yi and Teacher Di Nua is over? Ran Mo was befuddled, and he stared at the other three in confusion. Rand Mo suddenly realized that the trio was beaming, as if they had just discovered a great treasure. Little Mo, you didn't see it just now. A real pity. The match between Teacher Yi and Teacher Di Nua was mind-blowing. Hang Wenwei draped his arm around Ran Mo's shoulder, smiling like a cheeky rogue. Little Mo? Ran Mo was speechless, but he remained on track. Has the match between Teacher Yi and Teacher Di Nua really ended? Where's Teacher Di Nua then? Hang Wenwei indicated the exit with his chin. He was carried out. Ran Mo. Di Nua was carried out? Did he hear correctly? Hang Wenwei watched Ran Mo's eyes grow wide. He grinned. Guess what the true cultivation level of our Teacher Yi is? Ran Mo asked. Teacher Yi has been concealing his true powers. Hang Wenwei nodded. Rand Mo looked at the completely unharmed Yi Qing, and then at Hang Wenwei and the other two, who were all grinning widely. He then linked it with the fact that Di Nua was carried away. He made a bold guess. Could he be at the Divine Lord Third Heaven stage? Di Nua was a Divine Lord Second Heaven stage practitioner. If Teacher Yi could defeat Di Nua, his level must definitely be higher. Hang Wenwei shook his head. Little Mo, you are still too young. Our Teacher Yi is a true blue Divine Lord Fifth Heaven level. Rand Mo. Hang Wenwei was speaking softly, but Wu Fengling was able to hear him. When Wu Fengling heard the words, Divine Lord Fifth Heaven level, he was shocked and immediately turned to look at Yi Qing in amazement. Yi Qing, you are a Divine Lord Fifth Heaven stage practitioner? Yi Qing nodded. Wu Fengling took a deep breath as he looked at Yi Qing with a complicated light in his eyes. Wu Fengling had already been overjoyed that Yi Qing had won Juning in elixir refinement. He didn't expect there would be another major surprise waiting for him. A Divine Lord Fifth Heaven level and with alchemy skills above that of a master-level alchemist. This was really a precious treasure that when she had brought him. The situation had far exceeded Wu Fengling's expectations. It was like every time he saw Yi Qing, he would bring him some great surprise. Thinking of how the Netherworld Academy had been like the past few years, Wu Fengling gazed at Yi Qing in excitement. Perhaps he had been sent by the heavens to help the Netherworld Academy. Yi Qing, you are full of endless surprises. Wu Fengling gave a happy chuckle. Yi Qing's situation was now different from what he initially understood. He would have to make some adjustments to his plans now. Given Yi Qing's prowess in martial arts and alchemy was out of this world, his reputation would spread like wildfire across the Netherworld Academy. Juning had been very insistent about sealing off his tripod, but after being persuaded by both Yi Qing and Wu Fengling, he decided to keep to the agreement between him and Wu Fengling first. The day that Wu Fengling left, he would keep his promise to Yi Qing. Today, all 6 of Yi Qing's students qualified for the Inter-Academy competition. Lei Yan said, who said that he would eat the whole platform? Hurry up, don't waste time. The guy who made that claim had already shrunk into a corner, desperately wishing that he could disappear. Chapter 2354. Stealing Their Teacher. 1. Wu Fengling spoke with Yi Qing for a while longer before having the crowd disperse. There was still some time before the Inter-Academy competition, so Wu Fengling hoped that Yi Qing could help Hang Wenwei and the rest improve for the competition. After today, every time Hang Wenwei and his group gazed at Yi Qing, it was with eyes filled with adoration and worship. They were eager to see how Yi Qing would teach them. But it was clear that someone else was even more eager than Hang Wenwei and his group. The next morning, Lei Yan, Hang Wenwei, and the others arrived at the agreed location very early to wait for Yi Qing to arrive. Just as Yi Qing stepped into the room, and before Hang Wenwei and the others could exhibit their bootlicking skills, a figure dashed over. Teacher Yi? Zhu Ning stood outside the door, looking humbly at Yi Qing. Teacher Zhu? Yi Qingtang was surprised by Zhu Ning's appearance. I obtained a recipe some time ago and studied it for a long time, but still cannot figure it out. There are a few ingredients listed which I feel have to be reconsidered, so I hope to invite Teacher Yi to analyze it with me. Zhu Ning looked at Yi Qing without the slightest hint of arrogance. He was truly sincere about asking for Yi Qing's guidance. Yi Qingtang was dumbstruck. Hang Wenwei and the others were likewise stupefied. They never expected Zhu Ning to appear like this. Their faces started to twitch. Was Teacher Zhu kidding them? Teacher Yi didn't belong to the medicine faculty. How dare he so boldly try to steal their teacher away like this? Was it really appropriate? After personally witnessing Yi Qing's elixir refinement skills, Zhu Ning was utterly convinced of his abilities. Also, he heard another teacher say last night that Yun Chen's elixir refinement standard had greatly improved since several months ago. And it was all thanks to Yi Qing. That teacher was the same one who had previously tried to convince Yi Qing to join the medicine faculty as a warden, but he had rejected him. The teacher didn't take the rejection to heart. In addition, he had been away from the academy the past few months and so didn't get the chance to tell anyone of this matter. That was why things had escalated in this manner. In the end, that teacher returned and found out that Yi Qing's elixir refinement level was even more formidable. He was stunned. This further solidified Zhu Ning's respect for Yi Qing. As a result, he had come here first thing in the morning with his elixir recipe to seek out Yi Qing. Teacher Zhu, I have some things to do. Yi Qingtang was in a dilemma. If it was some other person, she could have just kicked him out. But Zhu Ning, as stubborn as he was, his adoration for alchemy was sincere. And his tone had been so humble. There was a saying that one could not bear to slap a smiling face. Yi Qingtang felt rather embarrassed rejecting him. Zhu Ning said, Teacher Yi, don't worry. I just need half a day of your time. Moreover, the pursuit of martial arts is endless, and there's not much time left for the inter-academy competition. On the other hand, Teacher Yi's alchemy skills are rare and valuable. I wonder if Teacher Yi is interested in joining the medicine faculty. In a matter of seconds, Zhu Ning made his offer. Lei Yan and the others had been listening patiently, but they suddenly realized what Zhu Ning was asking. What the hell? Zhu Ning wanted to steal their boss over to the medicine faculty. What was going on in this world? First, it was Hang Wenwei and those punks, and now even Zhu Ning wanted a share. Chapter 2355, Stealing Their Teacher. 2. The thought made Lei Yan and others feel extremely aggrieved. More than ever, they pined for the days when Yi Qing was a nobody. At least then, their boss would only belong to them. Unlike now. Now there were love rivals popping up everything, trying to steal their boss. Yi Qingtang didn't know whether to laugh or to cry at Zhu Ning's offer. Although she rejected him, he was resolute. It was clear that this person's aspirations in elixir refinement was indomitable. Exasperated, Yi Qingtang had no choice but to agree and spend half a day with Zhu Ning first. She could deal with the rest later. Before Yi Qingtang left, she had Jing Zhe and the others take charge of Hang Wenwei and his group for the time being, to instruct them on the foundational methods she had taught them in the past. They could start training using those methods first. Hang Wenwei, Qiu Nan and Gong Jinyun, Lei Yan and the others were shaking with mirth. Only Rand Mo alone was full of spirit. After Yi Qing left, he scurried over to Qin Feng's side. Qin Feng, teach me a couple of moves? Rand Mo smiled, revealing his eye teeth. Qin Feng, no, he didn't want to. Like that, Yi Qing had been kidnapped by Zhu Ning to the medicine faculty to research on some elixirs. It had been agreed that it would take just half a day, but when it came to elixirs, Zhu Ning was like an obsessed maniac. By mid-afternoon, he still refused to let Yi Qing leave. Song Yanhan looked on as his own master humbly discussed elixir refinement with Yi Qing. The expression on his face was amusing. Noticing the approach of Yun Chen and the others, Song Yanhan's face darkened even further. What else could he do? His own master was not as good as their teacher. In the end, He could only slink away in embarrassment. When night fell, Yunchen and the others finally managed to snatch Yiqing back from Zhuning's clutches after putting up a major fuss. Yiqing took this opportunity to analyze the situation of Hang Wenwei and his team. They all had very solid foundations and pretty good innate talents. It was no coincidence at all that they managed to reach their current cultivation stage. According to their individual situations, Yiqing adjusted the techniques and offered them a set of tailor-made methods to have them practice over this period of time. Hang Wenwei and the others practiced diligently as if they had just received a precious gift. But Zhuning would come over every 2 or 3 days to try and steal their teacher again. It was a real headache. Due to Zhuning's actions, Hang Wenwei, Lei Yan, and the whole group bonded together for the first time. To defend against external enemies, one must first have domestic harmony. Unite together to defend against Zhuning. But no matter how hard they tried, they failed to stop Zhuning's attempts. Exasperated, they sought out Ran Mo. Little Mo, go and find your master. Tell him that if this goes on, teacher, you will not have time to teach us. Hang Wenwei was feeling very aggrieved. He never expected that he would one day end up fighting over a teacher with a medicine faculty teacher. Ran Mo said, "My master has always respected teacher Zhu, and this." Lei Yan patted Ran Mo on the shoulder. "Let me teach you. Go and see your master and throw yourself at his feet. Sob as hard as you can, until tears and snot cover your face. If he refuses to help, just cry yourself to death by his feet." Ran Mo stared at Lei Yan with his dark, round eyes, as if he had just seen a ghost. "Don't worry, this method is very effective. I use it very often." Lei Yan patted his chest with gusto. Everyone immediately turned to stare at Lei Yan. The looks on their faces. Incredulous. "What are you looking at?" "I do this every time my father tries to force me to train." Lei Yan remained nonchalant. The corners of the lips of Nangong Lai and the rest twitched. No wonder this kid's earlier cultivation level was so lousy. Could he be any more shameless? Chapter 2356. Stealing their teacher. 3. Lei Yan's method was indeed rather shameless. The others were secretly scornful, but outwardly, "Little Momo, I think this method might work. You should go ahead and try it." Hang Wenwei looked very righteous. "Oh yes, crying alone is not enough. You need to howl. Howl until your master's heart softens." Those brats behaved like armchair experts, throwing the deplorable task onto Ran Mo's lap. Like this, the pitiful Ran Mo was forced into his mission. The #1 student in the Netherworld Academy threw himself at his master's feet and cried the entire night. Wu Fengling nearly went deaf from the noise. He finally agreed to go speak to Zhuning. The personal intervention of Wu Fengling seemed to work. Zhuning stopped his antics and Yiqing could finally teach her brats in peace. Having been delayed for several days, Ran Mo and his group gradually started to absorb Yiqing's teachings. Meanwhile, Lei Yan and his gang recalled something very crucial. "I say, boss, didn't you make that bet with Di Nua earlier? If you win, isn't Di Nua supposed to crawl out of the Netherworld Academy?" Lei Yan always got angry all over again when he recalled how overbearing Di Nua was. Now, their boss had proved herself in every way. It was time for Di Nua to carry out the terms of the bet. "That's right. Boss, make Di Nua carry out the terms of the bet." Nangong Lai piped up. If not for Di Nua, so many unpleasant things would not have happened. Di Nua thought that he would definitely win and had been so eager to publicly announce the bet between him and Yiqing. But since that day after Yiqing thrashed him and he had to be carried away, there had been no news of Di Nua. "I think that Di Nua is still bedridden." Lei Yan rubbed his chin. "Are you all very bored?" Yiqing shot them with a mild look. Lei Yan and the others shuddered under Yiqing's gaze as he lifted his chin and said, "Yesterday's technique. Practice it another 10 times." The faces of Lei Yan and the others darkened as they stared at Yiqing pitifully. They were just speaking up for boss. Why was he so heartless? As much as they grumbled, They had no choice but to carry out all extra 10 rounds of practice. As for the bet between her and Di Nua, Enchanting had not taken it to heart at all. For someone as proud as Di Nua, being publicly defeated by Enchanting was enough to shatter all his dignity. Enchanting had no time to bother about him anymore, as she could now go for the inter-academy competition. So she had already decided to spend as much time as she could with her brats until the end of the competition, after which she would leave this mainland and head off to the Dragon Emperor clan to find her mother. Instead of wasting her time on inconsequential people, she would rather concentrate on teaching her brats. Enchanting did not take the matter with Di Nua to heart at all. But it was true that Di Nua remained out of sight during this period. Meanwhile, Enchanting's reputation in the Netherworld Academy was flourishing. Nearly all the students knew of this formidable teacher who knew both martial arts and alchemy. However, Enchanting was only teaching Lei Yan, Ran Mo, and the selected few. This was also Wu Fengling's intention. After all, the inter-academy competition depended on those top students. Chapter 2357. Get Lost 1. During this period, the powers of Ran Mo and his group did improve. But with their already high cultivation stage, it was nearly impossible for them to have a sudden breakthrough over such a short period of time. Even so, they could clearly feel their battle prowess surge by leaps and bounds under Enchanting's guidance. Hang Wenwei was the only one who had yet to ascend to the Divine Lord stage, and he could already feel signs of a breakthrough. This made him so happy that he could barely sleep for several nights. During the day, he trained exceptionally hard, hoping to reach the Divine Lord stage before the inter-academy competition. Perhaps it was because they were motivated by Hang Wenwei, so Lei Yan and the others also increased their efforts. The moment daylight broke, the teenagers would charge toward the training arena like a pack of wild dogs who had just been uncaged. Many other students were astonished by their crazed diligence. One day, as they were practicing, a group of other students suddenly walked past them. At first, Lei Yan and the rest didn't pay much attention. But the words Enchanting drifted into their ears, and they instantly paused. Senior Sister Meng, is what you are saying true? Is Enchanting really that vicious? Meng Yao crossed her arms over her chest and shot Lei Yan and his gang a cold glance. A smirk was on her lips as she admonished, "Of course it's true. To this day, my master has yet to recover. It's obvious how vicious Enchanting was." After being taught a lesson by Mu Ziying, Meng Yao had spent more than 2 weeks bedridden before finally recovering. But her attitude toward Mu Ziying and her group did not change at all. It was still full of enmity. "Meng Yao, what did you just say?" Nangong Lai's face darkened as he glared at her. Meng Yao looked provocatively at Nangong Lai. "What did I say? I was just speaking the truth." "What? Are you going to attack me now?" "I think that you're just itching for a beating." Nangong Lai narrowed his eyes. He did not care that Meng Yao was a female. Even a deity could not insult their boss. It is indeed true that students take after their teachers. Your teacher is so cunning. It's only natural that you kids don't adhere to the school rules. Meng Yao smirked. Nangong Lai's face grew even grimmer. He wanted to step forward but was held back by Qin Feng. Qin Feng gave Meng Yao a chilly look. "If you dare insult our boss again, I will ensure that you can never speak again in this lifetime." Qin Feng was tall and strapping, his features cold and foreboding. At his malevolent tone and harsh eyes, Meng Yao couldn't help taking a step back. "Qin Feng, I know you are formidable, but as powerful as you are, do you think you can shut everyone up if they don't agree with you?" Meng Yao put on a false show of bravado. "Enchanting is so great. He concealed his true powers and came to the Netherworld Academy. He could have revealed his powers from the start, but he purposely chose to hide them. I know that he has been at odds with my master right from the start. He purposely incited my master to make that bet with him. Thereafter, he cunningly challenged my master in public and then executed a lethal move during their fight. He was completely merciless to someone who is also a teacher of the Netherworld Academy. Everything that has happened, Enchanting planned it all. Meng Yao glared at Qin Feng and his group with eyes filled with venom and hatred. Whenever she thought of how her family clan had invested so much to let her powers increase before the Inter-Academy competition, it infuriated her. If it wasn't for Yi Qing, she would finally have the chance to make a name for herself there. Chapter 2358, Get Lost, 2, but she had been greatly weakened by her match with Mu Ziying. Although she could walk now, it would still be some time before she would fully recover. In her current state, there was no way she could compete in the Inter-Academy competition. So, of course, she hated them. Di Noa was her teacher. If he was well, he might be able to help her recuperate faster. But he had been injured by Yi Qing and couldn't even help himself. Meng Yao's last hope was extinguished just like that. At this point, Meng Yao was just aching to tear Yi Qing apart. Meng Yao's voice attracted several people. The training arena was crowded in the first place, and several bystanders gathered around them. Most of them had heard of the bet between Di Noa and Yi Qing, but no one knew the reason behind that bet. Thereafter, there was Di Noa's match against Yi Qing during the medicine faculty selection trials. This made those students even more confused over the reason behind everything. Now, Meng Yao had spoken out and pushed all the blame onto Yi Qing, making it sound like Yi Qing had schemed against Di Noa and purposely injured him badly, just because she was at odds with him. Meng Yao's words stunned Lei Yan and his group. They had met shameless people, but they had never met someone that shameless. Their boss was the instigator? If Di Noa had not been so overbearing, would their boss be so free as to challenge him? It was clearly Di Noa who had forced Yi Qing to a match to prove himself. Now Meng Yao dared to turn around and accuse the victim? Your words are truly hilarious. Our boss is big-hearted and benevolent. He doesn't even intend to pursue the matter. Have you and your master not had enough yet? Who was the one who tried to force our boss out of the Netherworld Academy? Who was the one who claimed that our boss had someone outside of the academy teach us? It's all your teacher's doing.
What?
Now that you have lost, you refuse to concede? If your teacher has the guts, he should crawl out of the Netherworld Academy in accordance with the bet. Lei Yan was so angry that he felt like laughing. He had never met someone so thick-skinned. Meng Yao replied, "Scoundrel. You are just a student. How dare you be so rude to a teacher? What bet? It's all just talk. There's no proof. You were so rude to our boss too."
What do you say to that?
Lei Yan retorted. "Shut up." A low voice rang out. The crowd turned toward the voice and saw a pale-faced Di Noa. Accompanied by several teenagers, he was walking into the training arena. Meng Yao was taken aback by the sight of Di Noa. "Master, why have you come out?" Di Noa looked extremely unwell and his aura was very weak. He was a teacher from the martial arts faculty and was a familiar sight to all the students in the training arena. Seeing how the usually robust and imperious Di Noa now looked so frail, many of the teenagers, who didn't know the truth, unwittingly started to believe in Meng Yao's words. To be fair, it was rather common for the teachers to have occasional sparring matches. But no one had ever witnessed a teacher dealing such a heavy blow to another. Those teenagers did not know Yi Qing well, only hearing rumors about him. Now, they started to feel that it was better to stay away from this vicious teacher. Meng Yao, the world has only ever respected winners.
There's nothing we can do about that.
You have yet to fully recover. No need to go around talking about this, Di Noa said impassively. Meng Yao twisted her lips. Chapter 2359, Get Lost 3. Seeing that Di Noa wasn't really saying anything, Lei Yan and the others also remained silent. Di Noa looked at Lei Yan and his gang. "Yi Qing wants me to fulfill the bet." Lei Yan gaped, suddenly at a loss for words. Yi Qing had completely disregarded the bet. And so Lei Yan and the rest also didn't take it to heart. Just now, it was only because of Meng Yao's provocation that he had blurted those words out. It was par for course to expect a person to fulfill his promise. But to say this in front of everything, it would just make them appear overbearing. Lei Yan felt rather distressed. Di Noa was the one who wished to go back on his word, but now, he was making it look like they were bullying him. With arms crossed behind his back, Di Noa stared at Lei Yan and the others with a cold expression. Yi Qing was the one who initiated this bet. If he wants me to fulfill it, he must come and ask me himself. Lei Yan and the others looked very conflicted. They wanted to do so, but the surrounding crowd was already staring at them like they were ruthless tyrants. I say, enough is enough, right? This bet has always been just all talk and no proof. Moreover, Yi Qing had clearly concealed his true powers before purposely dealing such a grievous blow to teacher Di Noa. Now he wants to rub salt into his wound? That's too much.
He is so formidable now.
High cultivation level and an expert at alchemy, let alone he is also in the president's good books. Of course, he would disregard us commoners. Many students sounded rather envious. They also hoped to have a powerful teacher, but it was clear that Yi Qing didn't intend to teach students other than Lei Yan and his group. In a matter of moments, Lei Yan and the rest were confused by the malicious comments. But Di Noa was using his status as a teacher to suppress them. Even if they wished to argue, it would make them look unreasonable and heartless. No matter what they said, they would be at fault. Meng Yao was thrilled at the sight of the distressed expressions on Lei Yan and his group. Just as the crowd was discussing and blaming Lei Yan and his gang, a cold voice rang out. So I will tell you now, teacher Di Noa. Are you going to carry it out? Lei Yan and the others immediately turned at the voice. As expected, it was Yi Qing. Boss. Lei Yan and his group lit up with joy, and they burst toward Yi Qing. In contrast, when he saw Yi Qing, a frown appeared on Di Noa's face. Yi Qingtang was just passing by the training arena and wanted to see if her brats were sneaking a break, only to end up witnessing this scene. She had no interest in seeking out Di Noa to settle their score. But now he was putting up an act? Yi Qing shot Lei Yan and the group a keep calm expression before turning toward Di Noa. Teacher Di Noa's word have always been his bond. So please crawl out of the Netherworld Academy in accordance with the terms of our bet. He wanted to bully her brats? He had to have the ability first. Di Noa's face darkened at Yi Qing's words. Whispers spread across the crowd. Wasn't Yi Qing being too overbearing? It was better to live and let live. Yi Qing, don't push things too far. Meng Yao stepped out angrily. Yi Qingtang's face turned cold as she glanced at Meng Yao. Yes, I want to push things that far today. What can you do? Yi Qing finally understood something. Originally, she had wanted to be merciful to Di Noa so as to ensure a smooth future for Lei Yan and the rest in the Netherworld Academy after she left. But as long as Di Noa was around, he would find all sorts of ways to make things difficult for her students after she was no longer around. Chapter 2360. Get Lost 4. Rather than letting him harm her little brats, it was better that she get rid of this danger as soon as possible. You have no proof. Who would know the real details of your bet that day? Meng Yao insisted.
Oh.
So they were going to play that game, were they? Completely ignoring Meng Yao, Yi Qingtang took out the contract from her space ring and showed it to everyone. Here is the proof. I believe that I am not the only one who has a copy of this. Teacher Di Noa has one too, correct? Di Noa had been worried that Yi Qing would go back on his word and so purposely wrote out this contract in front of Wen Qi. He never imagined that he would be the one being tormented by this contract. Di Noa looked extremely grim. He was in a tight spot now. If he didn't carry out the terms of the bet, his reputation would be dragged through the mud. If he complied, he would be utterly humiliated. Or, does teacher Di Noa need my help to carry out his end of the bargain? Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes. Di Noa's face turned pale. Having personally experienced Yi Qing's power, he was well aware that if Yi Qing were to make a move, he would be utterly defenseless. Yi Qing, you are indeed vicious. Di Noa took a deep breath. He flung his sleeves angrily and left without turning his head. He could not carry it out. How could he? He would become the laughingstock of everyone. Meng Yao saw Di Noa leave and hurriedly followed after him. The crowd was of two minds at what just happened. Yi Qingtan couldn't care less. She led Lei Yan and the rest away from the practice arena. That night, Di Nua handed Wu Fengling his resignation and left the Netherworld Academy. Meng Yao, who had relied on Di Nua all this while, never expected Di Nua to leave just like that. After Di Nua left, Wu Fengling called Yi Qing over to his office. Di Nua has gone. Wu Fengling looked at Yi Qing. Yi Qingtang had already predicted this. With Di Nua's character, he would never crawl out of the Netherworld Academy in accordance with the bet. But his reputation had already been besmeared, and he had no choice but to leave. Are you going to rebuke me for being too ruthless? Yi Qing asked. Wu Fengling shook his head. I have heard about the entire matter from Wenqi. You were not at fault. Yi Qingtang was somewhat surprised. She thought that Wu Fengling would admonish her. I called you here to discuss something with you, Wu Fengling explained. President, please go ahead. Wu Fengling continued. It will be the Inter-Academy competition soon. And the venue will not be on our mainland. It will be a long journey and we need to leave in advance. We will be heading for the venue of the Inter-Academy competition in 3 days, so you should start to make the necessary preparations. Yi Qingtang subconsciously heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, she felt very uneasy staying on this mainland. Who knew what was happening with the Temple of Paragon? It was better for her to go, as far as possible. Apart from that, this year's Inter-Academy competition will be a bit different. I am not sure of the details for now, but Yi Qing, I hope that you can be the lead teacher for this competition, Wu Fengling continued. Lead teacher? Yi Qingtang was puzzled. Wu Fengling explained. For every Inter-Academy competition, each student would have their own teacher to mentor them throughout the entire competition. Most of the matches are one-on-one, so there is no major issue there. But one of the categories is a team competition which will require a teacher to participate. Although a teacher had to participate in the team competition, there were certain rules and limitations that applied. Only normal teachers were allowed to participate. Presidents, vice presidents, and faculty heads were not allowed. Chapter 2361. University 1. What do I need to do? Yi Qingtang asked. Wu Fengling replied. In the past competitions, the lead teacher just needed to keep watch on the competition arena surroundings, just in case. But there seem to be some changes this year. You will only know of the details when you arrive. Yi Qingtang nodded. She did not find anything strange about this. Anyway, she would definitely be guiding her own brats. She would feel uneasy if someone else performed the task. Besides, Wu Fengling must have taken all things into consideration before deciding to give such an important task to Yi Qing. Yi Qing had a pretty high cultivation level and was highly skilled in alchemy. It was no surprise that he was the most suitable candidate. Since Wu Fengling assigned Yi Qing to guide Lei Yan and the others as they already knew each other well, it was the best choice. After Wu Fengling gave his instructions, he let Yi Qing go back first. As Yi Qingtang returned, she thought of the evil soul forest. With her current cultivation stage, it would take at most a day to travel to and fro the evil soul forest. But Yi Qingtang also heard that there has been an increasing number of factions entering the forest. Many factions from the second domain were making their move. She heard that during this period of time, a few of the factions had obtained quite a number of treasures from the Fiend Celestial's tomb. The news was rather strange. Yi Qingtang was well aware of how dangerous the Fiend Celestial's tomb was. Just that giant snake guarding the treasure trove was enough to kill off all the factions. Even if someone was lucky enough to carry off 1 or 2 treasures from the tomb, it was a very low probability. But according to the news, the number of instances of treasures being brought out had far surpassed the reasonably expected amount. Yi Qingtang felt that something was not quite right. But as she had yet to go and investigate, she was not sure what was going on. Several days passed in the blink of an eye. The Netherworld Academy team that was to participate in the Inter-Academy competition set off. Wu Fengling remained in the Netherworld Academy to hold down the fort, and the team was led by Vice President Wenqi. Having trained so hard for so long, the teenagers finally embarked on their journey, The Heaven mainland was located in the ocean of the second domain. It was a wide expanse of land and the most vibrant martial arts place in the second domain. On a regular basis, the elite academies from the various mainlands would lead their top students to this mainland to compete in the inter-academy competition, which was held in Immerse City on Heaven mainland. It was rumored that many years ago, the mainland's biggest temple used to be located where Immerse City was now. The temple worshipped a powerful god, but after the god disappeared, the temple was destroyed in the battle and completely flattened. Many years later, people started to build a new city on that piece of land. This city was usually sealed off and no one was allowed to enter or leave. It was only open during the inter-academy competition. Like this, the originally empty city would become exceptionally lively during this period. After arriving at Immerse City, Lei Yan observed his surroundings with curiosity as his eyes surveyed the bustling shops lining the streets. I thought apart from those who are here for the competition, there would be no one else. I didn't expect it to be so vibrant and filled with so many shops. Nangong Lai had clearly done his research. Of course, the students sent here by the various academies are all the cream of the crop amongst the elite. Most of them are from wealthy family clans who had invested much effort to groom them, all with vast resources at their fingertips. As long as there are rich people around, you don't need to worry about there being nothing to buy. Chapter 2362, Immerse City 2. Wow. Look at that. Are they selling spirit animals? I have always wanted one. I must go and take a look later. Lei Yan was a young master of a family clan. Even so, his eyes lit up as he chatted with Nangong Lai, his movements becoming clumsy with excitement at the thought of going on a shopping spree. Yi Qingtan couldn't help feeling exasperated at those two lively brats. The others were quieter. Only those two chatted nonstop. Yi Qing, we will be heading to one of the residence halls later. That's the assembly point for the various academies. Apart from us, there will be people from the other schools. When Qi glanced at the teenagers behind him before speaking to Yi Qing. The Netherworld Academy had sent quite a big team this time. This was also Yi Qing's first time here, and it was only natural for Wen Qi to offer more advice. Yi Qingtang nodded. Immerse City had 4 residence halls, each located on the 4 corners of the city. The Netherworld Academy had been assigned to the North Hall. When they arrived, several teenagers from the other academies were already coming in and out of the place. Yi Qingtang instructed Lei Yan and the others to stay close to her. The brats followed behind her, their eyes filled with curiosity. Males and females were separated in the building. Mu Ziying and the other teenage girls from the Netherworld Academy were sent to another section. Yi Qingtang led the remaining 9 bumbling boys to another part of the building. Lei Yan and Nangong Lai were still whispering to each other. At some point in time, Gong Jinyun and Hang Wenwei had also been dragged into their conversation, and the 4 of them huddled together, talking quietly. Damn, are those guys from the Sky Martial Academy? Lei Yan acted like he had just discovered a new mainland. He gazed at a team of white-clad teenagers with shining eyes. Those teenagers were only in their late teens. Making their way through the crowd of students, their white outfits made them look exceptionally striking. Where? Nangong Lai also became very excited, sticking his head up to look. Is that Xiao Yihan? Lei Yan's eyes landed on the male leading the group. The mention of the name Xiao Yihan made Yi Qingtang pause. She looked up to see the handsome face of the boy and saw that his eyes were cold, and he exuded an aloof aura. Yi Qingtang knew the name Xiao Yihan as she had heard of him in her previous life when she came to the second domain. But that would be many years later. By then, Xiao Yihan would become the top practitioner in the second domain and was very famous. In her previous life, Jingzhe, whose bloodline remained sealed, would clash with Xiao Yihan many years later. The 2 of them once battled for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, Jingzhe would flee in defeat. Yi Qingtang looked in turn at Xiao Yihan, then at Jingzhe. The Jingzhe of now had awakened his bloodline under Yi Qingtang's guidance. The tragedy that happened in her previous life would not occur. How high do you think Xiao Yihan's cultivation level is now? I heard that he already reached the Divine Lord stage when he was just 12 years old.
He's a real freak.
He should be about 18 or 19 now, right? TSK, how high must his cultivation level be now? Lei Yan gaped at Xiao Yihan. He knew of Xiao Yihan because his father always talked about that genius teenager to torment him, a Divine Lord stage at 12 years old. The expressions of Qin Feng and the others shifted slightly at Lei Yan's words. Everyone subconsciously turned their attention to Ran Mo, also a genius teenager. Chapter 2363, University 3. Rand Mo blinked before revealing his eye teeth.
What?
Lei Yan and the others turned away, shaking their heads quietly. Look at Xiao Yihan's formidable presence, and then at this silly kid. Why was there such a great disparity? Never mind. Our little Mo is still young. He still has time to grow up. Nan Gonglai chuckled as if he was trying to assure himself. Ran Mo, stop calling me little Mo. Boss, your cultivation level is so high. Help us see what stage Xiao Yihan is at now. Lei Yan scurried over to Yi Qing's side. Divine Lord 4th Heaven peak level. The brats all gasped. What the hell? What a beast. A teenager at the Divine Lord 4th Heaven peak level? Was this guy a monster? We're doomed. I was still full of confidence for this inter-academy competition, but now I feel very inferior. Lei Yan felt like he had endured a major bow. Enchanting shook her head with a small smile. She was also not that optimistic about the Netherworld Academy's chances. The Netherworld Academy was a top school, but somehow over the past few years, apart from that Grand Master Alchemist, they had not produced any truly elite practitioners. Although the standard of the Netherworld Academy students was all pretty good, the various academies had sent their best students for this competition. Faced with those exceptionally talented teenagers, Lei Yan and the others felt rather deflated. Even their strongest, Qin Feng and Ran Mo, lagged when compared to someone like Xiao Yihan. And who knew how many more freakishly talented youths like Xiao Yihan were there in the whole inter-academy competition? The Netherworld Academy situation was not optimistic at all. Stop thinking about such pointless things. I will give you half a day to explore the city. From tomorrow onwards, you are all to stay in this building. You are not to run outside. Yi Qingtang instructed.
Yes.
The brats had been worried that Yi Qing would not allow them to explore the city, but he was now giving them a whole half-day to do so. They immediately perked up, and after setting down their luggage, they went out as a group. The other Netherworld Academy teenagers looked rather conflicted as they watched Lei Yan and the rest charge out of the North Hall in excitement. After coming here, they finally realized what the word elite meant. The genius freaks from the various academies had come in full force. They had been so confident while at the Netherworld Academy, but now in the North Hall, they were surrounded by Divine Lord stage practitioners. Their hearts felt very heavy. Even their own teachers were looking rather grave. But Lei Yan and the others appeared nonchalant. To think that they still had the mood to go explore the city? Yi Qing, is it really appropriate to let them out at this point in time? One of the other Netherworld Academy teachers asked. Rather than restricting them all the time, it is better to give them some freedom. Yi Qingtang had considered this matter very carefully. They could only do their best and leave the rest to fate. She had some initial plans but was not entirely sure of them yet. Moreover, she didn't want to see her brats looking all despondent. It would be a depressing sight. Putting down her luggage, Yi Qingtang was about to take a rest when Luo Sheng knocked on her door. Yi Qing, come with me. The vice president wants to see you. Wen Qi was looking for Yi Qing because of the inter-academy competition rules. The regulations would be announced to the various academies tonight. As Yi Qing was in charge of the team competition, Wen Qi wanted him to come along to listen to the announcement. Chapter 2364, Regulations 1. Soon after, Enchanting and Luo Sheng went over and found Wenqi and the other Netherworld Academy teachers already standing at the entrance of the main hall. A middle-aged man was standing in front of them, and they looked like they were chatting. Wenqi had a rather strange expression. Although he had a smile on his face, the smile didn't reach his eyes. Vice President Enchanting and Luo Sheng walked over. When she saw Enchanting and Luo Sheng come over, the smile became more genuine. The middle-aged man followed Wenqi's gaze. His face was cold and imperious, and when he looked at Enchanting, it was with eyes full of arrogance. All of the academies participating in the inter-academy competition were among the elite few, and teachers who could teach at such academies would naturally have very high cultivation levels. Enchanting was just in her teens, and although she had changed her appearance, she still looked like in her early 20s. Standing amongst the teachers, she looked exceptionally youthful. The middle-aged man's eyes swept past Enchanting impassively. Wenqi, this is a teacher from the Netherworld Academy? The middle-aged man looked at Wenqi. Wenqi nodded. A strange expression appeared on the man's face. He said in a low voice, "This year's inter-academy competition means a lot to the Netherworld Academy. I thought President Wu would treat it more seriously." The meaning behind the man's words was very clear. He felt that Wu Fengling should not have sent such a young teacher. Enchanting might be young, but he is very capable, Wenqi stated. The man didn't respond to Wenqi's statement. Everyone has more or less arrived, so I will head in first. We will catch up again if there is time in the future. The man turned and entered the main hall first. Wenqi couldn't resist a sigh as he watched the man depart. His name is Zhang Yunzhou, and he used to be Vice President Wenqi's disciple, Luo Sheng told Enchanting in a low voice. Enchanting's eyes flashed. She was not familiar with that name, but Zhang Yunzhou had been wearing the uniform of the Cold Cloud Academy. So it seemed that he was a teacher from the Cold Cloud Academy. When Zhang Yunzhou entered the main hall, quite a number of people inside greeted him respectfully. He quickly walked over to the other teachers from the Cold Cloud Academy. "You went to talk to your former masters?" one of the Cold Cloud Academy elders asked. He looked past Zhang Yunzhou to glance at Wenqi impassively. "Zhang Yunzhou, it has been a long time," the elder said in a mild tone. "The Netherworld Academy is no longer what it used to be. For the past several inter-academy competitions, very few Netherworld Academy students managed to get a placing. In the previous competition, only one person from the medicine faculty managed to squeeze into the rankings. The Netherworld Academy is in a bad state." Zhang Yunzhou kept silent. The elder patted him on the shoulder. "Your initial choice then was not wrong. If you had remained at the Netherworld Academy, it would just be a waste of your talent. If none of the Netherworld Academy students managed to get a place in this year's competition, they will be struck off the list of elite academies. In future, they would need to compete with the other normal academies first if they wish to join the inter-academy competition again, like the Sky Martial Academy. The Cold Cloud Academy was an elite school and was granted instant access to the inter-academy competition. Meanwhile, there were many other mainlands near the Heaven mainland with countless academies located on them. Chapter 2365, Regulations 2. But not every academy was good enough to participate in the inter-academy competition. They had to undergo a round of qualifying competitions first, and only the top few winners would earn the right to come to University and participate in the real inter-academy competition. In the past, the Netherworld Academy did not need to undergo the qualifying competition, but now, the Netherworld Academy was not like it used to be. According to the regulations, if they could not produce good results in this year's competition, they would lose that privilege. As the elder spoke, Wenqi had already led Enchanting and the others into the main hall. But their arrival did not attract the attention of the other academies. It was like no one could be bothered about them at all. This was an academy that was about to lose its privilege to automatically qualify for the inter-academy competitions, and so the other academies completely dismissed them. They were more focused on this year's competition regulations and their true rivals. Wenqi was used to their dismissive attitudes. He led Enchanting and the others to a corner and sat down. "Enchanting, Do you know why so many academies fight so hard to qualify for the inter-academy competition? When she suddenly asked Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang shook her head. She had never enrolled in an academy in the second domain during her previous life, so it was only natural she had no idea. It's because of the god relic, when she said in a low voice. Yi Qingtang's eyes glinted. God relic. When she nodded. Where the university is standing now, it used to be the biggest and most magnificent temple. It was constructed on this spot because a god left behind a relic here. It is similar to a mystic realm, yet also completely different. The god relic cannot usually be found. It will only open during a special period, and only a limited number of people will be allowed inside. The university was where the god relic was hidden. Nearly everyone in the second domain had tried to fight over the god relic, but thereafter, they realized that it was only effective for youths who had yet to reach the age of 20. Many powerful practitioners were extremely frustrated over this. But the major family clans, academies, and sects were inspired. There were 5 separate entrances to the god relic, and every entrance only allowed a certain number of entrants. To reduce the endless conflicts, the various factions had come to an agreement. Factions would be assigned to a particular entrance, and they could then fight over that allocated entrance. The entrance situated at the university had been allocated to the various academies, and they fought over the right to the entrance via a very simple method. The inter-academy competition, where the most talented teenagers would gain the chance to enter. This was why the various academies invested so much effort just to qualify for the inter-academy competition. Only 100 people are allowed to enter the entrance located at the university. In the past, our academy once managed to send over a dozen students into the god relic. But Yi Qing, do you know how many students of ours managed to win the privilege in the last competition? When she asked. Yi Qingtang shook her head. A bitter look surfaced on Wen Qi's face. He lifted a single finger. 1, only 1. Yi Qingtang couldn't resist an inward sigh after hearing this. Unless the Netherworld Academy manages to have at least 3 students win that privilege, our academy will be struck off the priority list. We will need to undergo a qualifying competition with the other normal academies first and win them before being able to participate in the inter-academy competition. Wen Qi's voice was very grave. The Netherworld Academy's situation was not optimistic at all. Chapter 2366, Regulations 3. Realization dawned upon Yi Qingtang. No wonder she found the atmosphere somewhat strange. The others in this hall all looked down upon the Netherworld Academy. From his position beside her, Wen Qi gradually explained the true circumstances of the inter-academy competition. In all honesty, he felt rather conflicted as he looked at Yi Qing. It was clear that he already admired Yi Qing when he first heard of the youth's unique understanding of martial arts. Yi Qing had only brought him even more major surprises. It was such a pity when Qi couldn't help giving an inward sigh. Yi Qing was still too young and had only spent a short time at the Netherworld Academy. If he could remain at the Netherworld Academy for a decade, with his understanding of martial arts and alchemy skills, he might be able to inject fresh blood into the academy. Such a pity when Qi knew that Wu Fengling let Yi Qing come to the inter-academy competition because he already had thoughts of giving up on this year's competition. When Qi himself harbored the same thoughts. Although Rand Mo and Qin Feng were pretty good, it was still not good enough to rise above the competition in university. So, he had allowed Yi Qing to participate this time just to let him have a better understanding of the inter-academy competition and to groom him for the future, in hopes that he could produce more talented students for the next competition. Even if they had to start all over again, at least they would have a chance. But Wen Qi would never reveal this point to anyone. He could not batter the confidence of the teachers and students right before the competition. Very soon, the elders in charge of the inter-academy competition arrived and explained to everyone the changes in the rules. Actually, there weren't many changes. The one-on-one competitions for martial arts and alchemy remained unchanged. They would still choose the top 10. The only change was to the team competition. For this team competition, we will have 10 participants in a group to be led by a teacher. President Wu's information was indeed accurate. There are substantial changes to the team competition. 10 to a team, and only the top team will be chosen. TSK. So sad. Luo Sheng frowned slightly. The team competition was the main event of the Inter-Academy competition. If victorious, they could win 10 spots all at once. There was no better way. However, the competition was also more intense. The various academies would definitely send out all their top elites. But in the end, only one team would win. The Cold Cloud Academy elder, who was talking to Zhang Yunzhou earlier, spoke up. Where is the location of this year's competition? In the previous Inter-Academy competition, there was also a team competition, but the top 3 teams had been chosen. In contrast, for this year, only the top team would earn a spot. Moreover, they allowed a teacher to lead the team. This was a major change. To allow a teacher to directly participate in a competition, it would definitely be no simple trial. The elder replied, "The location will be the Wailing Well." Everyone's faces changed at his words. The Wailing Well? Isn't that place surrounded by an evil aura, such that no one is able to enter? Someone asked in a puzzled tone. The elder nodded. Several months ago, the Wailing Well's evil aura was dispelled. The crowd exchanged looks, grave expressions mirrored across all their faces. Vice President, the Wailing Well you are referring to is the one situated in the evil marsh in the outskirts of Universe City? One of the teachers asked in a low voice. When she nodded. Chapter 2367, Regulations 4. The evil marsh used to be a blessed land. But after the temple was destroyed, it was gradually engulfed by the evil aura, and the Wailing Well is situated right inside the marsh. Since then, no one has been able to enter. To think that the Inter-Academy competition this year would be held in the Wailing Well, where no one had ever entered. This was a major shock to many academies. Who knew what would happen in that godforsaken place? No one has ever entered there before. Why has that location been chosen for this year's competition? Yi Qingtang's brows furrowed slightly. Logically, this kind of place was not suitable for young, inexperienced students. Just as Yi Qingtang was filled with queries, the elder continued. Everyone, please don't worry. The Wailing Well is dangerous, but we have already sent our people inside before. It is not as dangerous as you might think. Moreover, we will give every single team a teleportation talisman, which will be kept by the teacher in charge. Any time a team meets with danger, they can choose to back out. You just need to crush the talisman, and you will be able to leave safely. But if that were to happen, the team then would lose their right to. The crowd's expressions remained grim as the elder continued his explanation. The Wailing Well was an unknown place to everyone at present. They had no idea what it was like inside, and were completely unable to prepare for anything. I wonder what the criteria are for a team to win. One of the teachers asked. The elder replied, the winner will be the team that manages to remain inside the Wailing Well for 10 days and kills the greatest number of demons. Demons. The elder's words revealed a hint of information. Remaining for 10 days inside the well was not too big of a worry for the various academies. What they were really concerned about was what kind of demons were inside that well. In addition, everyone who enters the well is not allowed to bring any elixirs or special artifacts. Apart from the personal weapon you are carrying now, you are not allowed to bring anything else inside. The crowd was in an uproar. They could not bring anything? What about food and talismans? Someone asked. The elder shook his head. The crowd finally understood the crux of this competition. Food, water, artifacts, elixirs, they could not bring any of those things in. Apart from the weapons they already had on their bodies, as well as the teleportation talisman, they could not bring anything that could enhance their battle prowess. On top of that, they would have to stay for 10 days inside the unknown environment of the Wailing Well and kill as many demons as they could. The unknown environment and special restrictions made this team competition especially strange and mysterious. Previously, some academies had planned to choose 10 martial arts students and give up a spot on the alchemy list. But now they really had to bring one medicine faculty student. After all, so many things could happen in 10 days. No one could be sure what kind of dangers they would be in without any elixirs. A team had to have at least one medicine faculty student. Are there any herbs inside the wailing well? Someone asked anxiously. Without any herbs, there was no need to even think about refining elixirs. Of course, the elder replied. The crowd remained silent. The team competition will be held after all the other competitions, so everyone still has time to prepare. Each academy is allowed to send 5 teams. The elder continued to lay out the rules. Meanwhile, Yi Qingtang listened quietly, taking note of all possible clues. Chapter 2368. Chess 1. Meanwhile, with the permission of Yi Qing, Lei Yan and the rest had already scurried over to the streets of Universe City. Apart from Mu Ziying, who was staying in another dormitory, the entire gang was there. Even Jing Zhe and Qin Feng had been dragged along. The bunch of brats lolled around Universe City for the entire morning. Lei Yan bought so many things that his space ring was nearly bursting. At this moment, Nangong Lai and the others finally realized just how rich young Master Lei Yan was. I didn't expect the Leitang family to be so rich, Nangong Lai spoke ruefully as he watched Lei Yan's spendthrift ways with longing. They were both disciples from major family clans, but he had to be so much thriftier. What do you know? My father is very generous towards me as compensation. Previously, the elders in my family clan would only scoff at my weak foundation and never allowed me to put even a single foot out the door, unless it was for training. And at the academy, there was no place to spend money. This is all part of my own savings. Lei Yan was feeling very satisfied with his shopping spree. He had held on to so much money for so long. It was so frustrating to have all that money and nowhere to spend it. Lei Yan paused. Perhaps he finally noticed the incredulous looks on the faces of his friends. He cleared his throat. Don't misunderstand. These items are not just playthings. We're going for that team competition, right? I am just preparing for that. We might have use for these items then. Everyone was surprised by Lei Yan's words. Brother, I didn't know you were so forward-looking. Hang Wenwei patted Lei Yan on the shoulder. Of course, our boss is leading the team after all. I cannot screw up. Lei Yan looked very smug. Nangong Lai threw an arm around his shoulder. I say, brother, we're friends who have been through thick and thin together. Don't forget to share your goodies with me.
Get lost.
You don't want to buy these yourself, and am trying to leverage off me?
Dream on.
Lei Yan shrugged off his arm in disdain. Don't be like that. I'm broke. None of my business.
Get lost.
The teenagers continued messing around as they returned to the North Hall. Nangong Lai was still trying his best to weasel something out of Lei Yan, but soon enough, a group of people inside the compound attracted their attention. What are they doing? Rand Mo looked at the small crowd of teenagers. Those teenagers were wearing different uniforms from the various academies, but they had all gathered together. A low murmuring could be heard. It looked rather interesting. Let's go and take a look. Lei Yan immediately piped up. They were all energetic youths and at the age where they were filled with curiosity. The teenagers squeezed their way in. In the middle of the crowd was a massive stone table. A chessboard was placed on top of it. 2 teenagers from 2 different academies were playing against each other. The pieces on the board looked different from the usual chess pieces and were in the shape of various beasts. Illusion Beast Chess? Lei Yan's eyes lit up. Illusion Beast Chess was the favorite chess game of the second domain. It was rumored that it was derived from Sea Soul Chess. Few people had seen the real Sea Soul Chess, but this didn't stop people from spreading this rumor. But actually, Illusion Beast Chess and Sea Soul Chess were completely different. There were all sorts of strange strategies, and each player had a Beast King. The player who managed to take the other's Beast King would be the victor. Chapter 2369, Chess 2. When Lei Yan was confined to the Leitang family compound, his only joy was making the other family clan youths play Illusion Beast Chess with him. Soon enough, one of the players lost with a loud sigh. His face was grim as he tossed a small, intricate jade pendant over to his opponent. The winner kept the jade pendant with a smile and scanned the crowd. Who's next? No one answered. Lei Yan's heart itched. Let me try. He then sat down promptly. The crowd looked at Lei Yan, who had settled into the seat. Their eyes fell on his Netherworld Academy uniform and a strange expression crossed their faces. The winner couldn't resist smirking when he saw Lei Yan sitting opposite him. Buddy, which academy are you from? Lei Yan was puzzled. Wasn't his uniform clear enough? I am from the Netherworld Academy. What's the matter? The winner chuckled. He leaned back a little. You want to play? That's right. Lei Yan answered. The winner looked at Lei Yan with amusement. Sorry, I am afraid you can't. Lei Yan was taken aback. The person continued. We have rules regarding our Illusion Beast chess games. If you wish to play, you need to offer the appropriate stakes. Lei Yan listened. Stakes? He immediately took out all his new purchases from a space ring. Which item do you want? Choose yourself. Lei Yan spoke magnanimously. But the teenagers from the other academies sniggered at his words. They sounded like they were laughing at a fool. The person sitting opposite Lei Yan also laughed. These lousy items of yours are not fit to use as stakes in this game. With that, he drew out the jade pendant he had won and waved it in front of Lei Yan. Do you know what this is? Lei Yan was unfamiliar with the pendant, but Ran Mo's face shifted. He uncharacteristically charged forward and pulled Lei Yan to his feet. Let's go. The person couldn't resist smiling as he watched Lei Yan being dragged off by Ran Mo crossing his arms over his chest. He leaned back slightly and lifted his chin as he gazed at Lei Yan and the others. Your friend is right. It's better that you leave. There are some stakes which are too high for your Netherworld Academy. Playing chess in University is not something people like you can afford. The person's words were extremely harsh. The faces of Qin Feng and the others darkened. Rules were rules. If Lei Yan didn't know of them, he could have just explained, but this person was full of scorn and ridicule. It was clear that he was trampling upon the reputation of the Netherworld Academy. Ran Mo, who was dragging Lei Yan away, suddenly halted as he heard those insulting comments. For the first time, a sliver of displeasure flashed across that babyish face. Spinning around suddenly, he turned and took out something from his space ring. In front of the scornful eyes of the crowd, he slapped the item into the stone table. It was a small jade pendant, exactly the same as what the winner had. Little Mo, you also have this item? Lei Yan didn't expect Ran Mo to also have this jade pendant. The person narrowed his eyes at Ran Mo's jade pendant. He sized up this exceptionally harmless-looking teenager. You are Wu Fengling's disciple. Chapter 2370. Chess 3, yes, Ran Mo replied. The person gave a sudden laugh. He picked up Ran Mo's jade pendant and examined it casually. TSK. I knew it. Who else in the Netherworld Academy can get something like this? So you are Wu Fengling's famed disciple. No wonder. After all, President Wu would only give something like this to his own disciple. Lei Yan and the others realized that this jade pendant was no ordinary item. Little Mo, what is this jade pendant? Lei Yan asked. Ran Mo didn't answer his question, but only stared back at the arrogant guy. We have the appropriate stakes now. Are we playing? Of course. As long as you can bear to lose it, I welcome you. The person smiled with a shrug. Ran Mo dragged Lei Yan over to the table. Lei Yan felt rather panicked. What is that jade pendant? Little Mo, I don't want to play anymore. It was just a spur of the moment. Let's not play. Lei Yan didn't manage to finish his sentence. Ran Mo interrupted him with a serious look on his face. You need to play? Lei Yan was stunned. What was going on? Ran Mo, forget it. Qin Feng's brows were furrowed slightly. He had no idea what that jade pendant was, but it must definitely be very important. And Wu Fengling himself had given it to Ran Mo. Observing the situation, The person tossed Rand Mo back his pendant with a smirk. Yes, I think we should just forget it. The Netherworld Academy probably only has one of these, so you'd better keep a hold on it properly. After all, you guys are different from the rest of us. This item must be extremely rare and precious to you. You guys cannot afford to lose it. Seeing that the situation was not quite right, Qin Feng instinctively wanted to lead Rand Mo away. But Rand Mo spoke coldly to the person, his face more stern than ever before. Cannot afford it? I insist on playing today. With that, Rand Mo sat down himself. Lei Yan and the others exchanged looks. But they also understood Rand Mo. This person was openly degrading the Netherworld Academy. Rand Mo was being stubborn only because he was trying to protect the dignity of the Netherworld Academy. As Wu Fengling's disciple, the Academy's reputation was naturally more important to him than to anyone else. The crowd observed Rand Mo's insistence. They all started to relish the fact that they were about to enjoy a good show. Rand Mo knew how to play Illusion Beast chess. Wu Fengling himself had personally taught him. Let's begin, said Rand Mo. A smile played at the corners of the person's lips. He also took out a jade pendant and placed it on the table. With that, the chess match officially began. Lei Yan and the others watched on nervously. But Lei Yan's eyes suddenly brightened after Rand Mo made his move. Little Mo's Illusion Beast chess is pretty good. Lei Yan always believed that his Illusion Beast chess skills were rather good. But after watching Rand Mo's moves, he realized that Rand Mo's chess skills were far beyond his. His anxiety lessened. Rand Mo's moves were cautious, while his opponent was playing willfully. But a major change soon occurred on the chessboard. After just a few rounds, Rand Mo's chess pieces dwindled until he was only left with his Beast King. Standing all alone on the board, surrounded by his opponent's pieces, which were eyeing it hungrily. Rand Mo took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He had lost. After winning, the person picked up Rand Mo's jade pendant and casually played with it. Thanks. Rand Mo stood up without a word as Lei Yan and the others hurried forward. The person chuckled. You guys probably still don't know what this thing is, right? You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.